Hello, beautiful people. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. It's Winnie here again in another video. You are welcome to the channel of beautiful people. In today's video, we are going to be making this gorgeous, beautiful dress inspired by Veekee James, and it's going to be fun. Without too much talking, let's get to the honey of this video. Papa. For this project, you need 4 yards of silk fabric, very light fabric, your scissors, your tape rule, and your chalk. In this case, I'm using a pen because I want you all to see what I'm doing clearly. Now, I folded my fabric using my hip measurement divided by 2 because divided by 4 rather, because we are cutting out the skirt part first, and then for the length I removed my half bodice measurement, which is 16 inches, and then I'm measuring my full gown length measurement plus 2 inches allowance. That's what I'm doing right now. So I connected the line with my pattern master just to make sure that the line is very straight. And then I noticed that I did not add the 1 inch seam allowance for the slit in front and the zipper at the back, so I refolded my fabric, adding the 1 inch allowance, and then I connected the line again. Now I want to shape it, so I removed the 1 inch, and from that 1 inch mark I'm taking my waist measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches. From my waist I'm going down by 9 inches to my hip line. I'm taking out the 1 inch again, and from that 1 inch mark I would put my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches allowance, and then on my knee line I'm taking out the 1 inch again, and then from the 1 inch mark I'm going to take whatever I have on my hip measurement minus 1 inches, and then I'm connecting all that line with my pattern master. If you have gotten to this point and you are not yet subscribed, kindly click the subscribe button, like my videos, share my videos with your friends and family, and let's do this fashion together. So I just cut it out, and I'm going to cut the back the same way I cut the front, because the front and the back is going to be the same measurement, because both has a slit and the other has one has a slit and the other has a zipper. So we are going to be needing the 1 inch allowance for the both sides. So make sure your hand is really straight and your cutting is very clean. Then I'm going to slit the middle part open for the front and the back block. Guys, this dress was really tasking for me. It was one of the most tasking tutorials that I've made on this channel, probably because my son was always in the picture disturbing me. I don't know, or the style. It was just too tasking, and all you need to do is to support me by please watching my video till the end. I need the watch time hours, and I also want you to subscribe. Now what I'm doing right here now is cutting my half length, the upper bodies of my dress. I've measured out 16 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance for the length, and I used my bust measurement divided by 4 to cut out the block. So now I'm cutting out the back panel. The back is going to be wider than the front in this case, because the back alone has a zipper and the front of the upper part does not have a slit. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So we are going to be adding 1 inch seam allowance to the back, and we're going to be cutting it out just the way I'm doing right now. The thing is, if you watch what I'm doing closely, you're going to get it. Now I'm marking out my shoulder measurement, and I'm taking out my shoulder slope. My neck width, the neck width I used is 3 inches, and then I'm marking out my armhole depth. I just cut out the armhole and then my shoulder slope. Now for the neckline, I'm cutting the back neckline first, which is 1 inches. That is 3 inches width by 1 inch depth. And then I'm cutting out, I'm opening the back panel, I'm opening it up for the zipper. I'll take that off and then concentrate on the front. I'm going to cut out the front. Before cutting out the front neckline, I wanted to shape it first, so I'm using my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches at the bust area, and then I'm marking that out with my pen. And then at the waist area, I'm measuring out my waist divided by 4 plus 2 inches, and then I'm shaping it out like this. Now it's time to cut out the front neckline. So I'm using a depth of 3 inches. That should make 3 inches width by 3 inches depth. And then I'm going to cut a round neckline. So now the next thing is to put the dart. Now for the dart, you need your bust span measurement. That's your nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half inch. My bust span measurement is 7 inches. That's 3.5 plus half inch. That's 4 inches. And that is what I took. And then my dart leg is 5 inches long. I'm going to do that on the front and the back, on both sides, and that is what I've done here. I've placed the darts for the back. This is for the back and this is for the front. So now the next thing I want to do is to cut out a facing for my bodice. I want to cut out a facing because it has to have a very neat and clean finish, and that is what I'm doing right now. I'm placing my actual fabric on a piece of folded fabric, and then I'm tracing it out. I measured out 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches and I'm cutting it out. I'm going to do the same for the back. Trace it out first. You trace the neckline and the shoulder out. Then you measure out 3.5 by 3.5. Then you just connect it and cut it out. If you are still not subscribed, kindly click the subscribe button. Please like my videos. It gives YouTube the sign that they need to push my video to a larger audience. Please just help a sister. So I'm just showing how you place your facing to sew. Now the next thing that we're going to be doing is to see my son here. This boy showed me what they call pepper while making this tutorial. I don't know, maybe he didn't want me to sew this cloth. So I took out my zip opening of 7 inches. This is the back. After opening that 7 inches, I'm going to mark out 1 inch and take that 1 inch all the way down. That is for the back. The 7 inches mark is open. That's where the zip will fit into. Now for the front panel, it has a slit in front, so I'm going up by 14 inches. You can go higher if you want, but I don't want it to be too open, so I went up by 14 inches, and from that 14 inches I'm going to sew 1 inch all the way from the upper part to the 14-inch mark, and the rest is going to be open. Now this is the back, and that's the 7 inches that I left. And now I'm joining the upper part to the skirt part like you see me doing. So you join it like so. After that, you're going to iron it very neatly. You're going to open it up and iron it neatly like this is the front part, and I've ironed it. And I also use hemming gum to make it very clean and fresh. Now I'm adding the upper part of the front panel to the back, to the skirt part. So I'm placing a notch so that everything can be in place. All right, the sides are not I told you that my baby did not want me to sew this clothes. Hey, Jesus. So now you're going to place the zip at the back part. Going to place your zipper, and then for the front, you see the sides are not really aligning with the upper part because I forgot to put that on the skirt part of the front and back panel. So don't forget to do that when you are sewing yours. You need to place that on the skirt part too before joining the upper part to the down part. I hope you understand what I'm said. I've cut out the sleeve and it's way longer than my normal measurement. It's getting to my wrist. It's getting to my hand. I don't know. It's beyond the wrist. So I have a separate tutorial on how to cut a sleeve pattern. And then I'm just going to measure out from my waist to where my hip stops, which is 14 inches for me. So to cut out the piece that you need for gathering, I multiplied that 14 inches by 3 and I cut it out, and I cut out a piece of that length. 14 inches times 3, I cut out a piece of that length, and I cut out a width of my fabric measurements, and I left some excesses because I did not want a shortage by the time I finish attaching it. So now I'm just going to run a stitch on that side, the part that is 14 inches times 3, and I'm going to gather it up. Now for the upper drape, you're going to measure out from your shoulder up to 2 inches below your waistline and back to the shoulder, just like you saw me do. And it was about 38 inches long, so I measured out a fabric of like 40 inches, 45 inches long because I wanted XX, and a width of 30 inches. So that is what I cut out for that drape. Now I'm gathering the part I want to use for the skirt drape. I ran a stitch on it, and then now I'm gathering it. So as you are gathering it, you are going to be measuring it. You want to make sure that it's exactly 14 inches in length. Just watch what I'm doing closely. If you watch what I'm doing, you are going to understand this particular style very well. So you gather it up neatly. Make sure that it's as even as possible. You see this my son here, he showed me again in this video. That alone even made me really tired trying to carry him. Oh Jesus, you guys, content creation as a nursing mother is not so easy. So now I'm placing it on the skirt part, as you can see, to form that drape that you saw on Veekee James, and then I'm aligning it. So it's advisable to use pins. I used pins because by the time I wanted to sew it, everything scattered again and I had to start all over again. So you use pins to hold it down. Even the middle part, I would advise that you just maybe gather it up with a needle and thread for the middle part, or you tie it up with a thread or a fabric. As for me, I tied it with a fabric when it was getting too confusing. So I'm pinning it down now, and then it's better for it to be excess like this. So I've gone ahead to sew it on both sides. As you can see, you saw that I tied it right. Now I turned it to the wrong part so I can see what I'm doing clearly, and then I cut out the excesses. We don't need all that in our dress. So now it's time for the upper draping, and then the 30 inches length, the 30 inches width is what I'm going to be gathering. All right, so I've run a stitch and then I'm gathering it to the size of my shoulder measurement, and that is what I'm doing right now. I'll gather it on both sides. So after gathering it, I placed it on my shoulder. You see it's fitting right on my shoulder, and then I'm going to fold it like you can see me do, and then place it on the other shoulder. Now I've stitched it, and now I'm joining the shoulder, the front and back together on the shoulder, and I joined it on the sides with the 2 inches allowance. Now moving on to the sleeve. For the sleeve, my normal sleeve length is 23. I added like 3 inches extra, so this is where my sleeve is going to stop, and I'm measuring the circumference. So it gave me 9 inches, so I took out 4.5 on my M, and then I'm measuring my round armhole, which is 8 inches. From that 4.5 mark, I'm going to connect it to that 8 inches mark for my armhole, and then on that line I'm going to come up from the M by ½ inch. From the ½ inch mark, I'm going to go up again by 3 inches. So what we are going to be sewing is that from that 3 inch mark we are going to sew it upwards, and from the ½ inch mark we are going to sew it downwards. I'll take it again. My circumference is 9 inches. I divided it by 2, which is 4.5, and that is what I'm marking here, and then I'm connecting it to my armhole measurement. And then on that line, from the M I went up by ½ inch. From the ½ inch mark I went up by 3 inches again. Now I'm going to be sewing from that ½ inch downwards and from the 3 inches upwards. I've gone ahead to sew it, and I'm cutting out the excess. So I want to teach us how to iron it. We're going to place it like this and open it up, iron it flat, and use hemming gum to hem everything clean and fresh. See, I've done it here, and you can see the place where the thumb out effect will take place. This dress is going to be so gorgeous. See, the thumb out effect is looking very beautiful. Now the next thing we are going to be doing is to attach our sleeve to our dress, and this dress needs a perfect ironing, so you need to iron it properly. And guys, this is the final look. This dress is stunning. Thanks for watching. I love you. Bye.